Qur'an, chapter 111, Surah al-Masad by Sayyid Qutb, translation by Muhammad al-Amrani. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful, perish the hands of Abu Lahab, and perish he. Neither his wealth nor his gains shall avail him. Soon shall he burn in a fire of blazing flame, and his wife the carrier of firewood with a rope of twisted fibres around her neck. Abu Lahab, whose true name was Abd al-Uzza ibn Abd al-Muttalib, was the uncle of the Prophet. May peace and blessings be upon him. He was named Abu Lahab due to the radiance of his face. Yet, despite this outward brightness, he and his wife, Jamil, were among the most vehement enemies of the Prophet and his divine message. Ibn Ishaq narrates, saying, I heard Rabi'a ibn Abad al-Dili say, as a young man I watched the Prophet, may peace be upon him, approach various tribes, and behind him was a man with a striking face and a crooked eye. The Prophet would stand before each tribe, saying, O children of so-and-so, I am the messenger of God to you. I command you to worship God alone and not associate anything with him. Believe in me so that I may deliver the message with which I have been sent. After the Prophet had spoken, this other man would follow, declaring, O people of such and such tribe, this man wants you to abandon Al-Lat and Al-Uzza and your allies among the jinn of Banu Malik ibn Akhmaz, to embrace this new innovation and misguidance. Do not listen to him or follow him. I asked my father, Who is this man? He replied, His uncle, Abu Lahab. Thus Abu Lahab's hostility was a clear example of the treachery he harboured against the Prophet and his mission. His wife, Jamil, supported him in this relentless and unjust campaign. She was Arwa bint Harb ibn Umayyah, the sister of Abu Sufyan. From the very inception of the prophetic mission, Abu Lahab took a stance of fierce opposition. Al-Bukhari relates through Ibn Abbas that when the Prophet, may peace be upon him, ascended Mount Safa and called out, O people, gather around, Quraysh assembled, and he said, If I were to inform you that an enemy was about to attack you in the morning or the evening, would you believe me? They replied, Yes. Then he said, I am a warner to you of a severe punishment. At this, Abu Lahab retorted, Is this why you have gathered us? May you perish. And thus the verse was revealed, Perish the hands of Abu Lahab, and perish he. It is said that he shook off his hands, exclaiming, Perish you for the rest of this day! Is this why you gathered us? And thus the entire Surah was revealed. When the tribe of Banu Hashim, led by Abu Talib, decided to protect the Prophet, may peace be upon him, out of tribal loyalty, even if they did not share his faith, Abu Lahab severed ties with his kin, siding with Quraysh against them. He even participated in the infamous boycott against Banu Hashim, seeking to starve them into surrendering the Prophet. Abu Lahab had previously arranged for the marriage of his sons to the daughters of the Prophet, may peace be upon him, Ruqayya and Kulthum. However, upon the Prophet's declaration of his mission, he commanded his sons to divorce them, further burdening the Prophet with their return. Thus Abu Lahab and his wife Jamil waged a fierce and unrelenting war against the Prophet and his message. Their house was close to that of the Prophet, making their harm even more intense. It is narrated that Jamil would scatter thorns in the Prophet's path, or perhaps the phrase carrier of firewood is a metaphor for her spreading harm, malice and discord. This surah was revealed to respond to this declared war waged by Abu Lahab and his wife. And thus God, exalted is he, took upon himself the task of this battle, leaving no doubt as to its outcome. Perish the hands of Abu Lahab, and perish he. The curse is both a plea and a prophecy. In this single verse, the doom is invoked and assured, the battle is concluded, and the curtain falls. What follows in the subsequent verses is but a confirmation of what has already come to pass. Neither his wealth nor his gains shall avail him. His hands have perished, and he himself has perished. His wealth and efforts were of no use. They could not avert his doom. This was in the life of this world, but in the hereafter he shall burn in a fire of blazing flame. The mention of the flame conjures the image of the fire itself, igniting a sense of its intensity and ferocity. And his wife, the carrier of firewood, she shall burn alongside him, bearing the firewood, with a rope of twisted fibres around her neck. It is as though she is bound with it in the fire, or perhaps it is the very rope with which she carries the firewood. Whether the firewood represents literal thorns or is a metaphor for her spreading of evil, the imagery is clear. The surah's expressive power is marked by a subtle harmony between its form and its content. We quote here a passage from the book Scenes of the Day of Judgment in the Qur'an that captures the impact of this surah on the heart of Jamil, driving her to the brink of madness. Abu Lahab will be burned in a fire of blazing flame, and his wife, the carrier of firewood, shall burn with him, with a rope of twisted fibres around her neck. The surah exhibits a striking harmony of sound and image. Hell is depicted here as a fire with blazing flames, and Abu Lahab, whose name means father of flame, is consigned to it. His wife carries the firewood, whether literally or figuratively, to stoke this fire, and she is tied with a rope which binds her as punishment fitting her deeds. The imagery of firewood and rope, flame and burning is complete, encapsulating their punishment in a vivid and elementary tableau. Firewood and flame, rope and fire, a fitting retribution for Abu Lahab and his wife, the carrier of firewood. There is another level of harmony in the sound of the words, resonating with the harshness of the task, the binding of the neck with the rope, the grating anger and the menacing tone that pervades the surah. Recite, perish the hands of Abu Lahab, and perish he. You can feel the severity of the words as if they were tightening around the neck, mirroring the imagery of the rope and the atmosphere of fury and menace that pervades the surah. Thus, the harmony of the musical cadence, the movement of the imagery, the consistency of the metaphor, and the resonant repetition all align perfectly with the surah's theme and its occasion of revelation. And all of this is achieved in just 5 short verses in one of the shortest surahs of the Qur'an. This profound harmony and expression led Jamil to believe that the Prophet, may peace be upon him, had satirized her in verse, especially when the surah spread and its message of scorn and reproach towards her became widely known. The depiction of her as the carrier of firewood with a rope of twisted fibres around her neck would provoke derision, especially for a woman proud of her lineage and status. Yet she found herself portrayed in a most degrading manner in a style familiar to the Arabs, who were adept at recognizing the biting sarcasm and vivid imagery. Ibn Ishaq relates, I was told that when Jamil, the carrier of firewood, heard what had been revealed about her and her husband, she went to the Prophet, may peace be upon him, while he was sitting in the mosque by the Kaaba, with Abu Bakr by his side, holding a stone in her hand. When she approached, God blinded her to the presence of the Prophet, so she only saw Abu Bakr. She asked him, O Abu Bakr, where is your companion? I have heard that he has insulted me. By God, if I find him, I shall strike his mouth with this stone. By God, I am indeed a poet. She then recited, We disobeyed Mudhammam and rejected his command. Then she left. Abu Bakr said, O Messenger of God, did you see her? She did not see you. He replied, She did not see me. An angel had obscured her sight from me. Al-Bazar, through his chain of narration, relates that Ibn Abbas said, When the verse perish the hands of Abu Lahab was revealed, the wife of Abu Lahab came to the Prophet, may peace be upon him, while he was sitting with Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr suggested, Why don't you move away so that she does not harm you? But the Prophet replied, There will be a barrier between me and her. She approached, stood in front of Abu Bakr and said, Your companion has insulted us. Abu Bakr assured her, By the Lord of this house, he does not recite poetry." She then said, "Indeed, you are truthful." As she left, Abu Bakr asked, "Did she see you?" The Prophet replied, "No, an angel concealed me from her sight until she turned away." Such was the rage and indignation that overtook Jamil upon hearing this divine declaration, believing it to be poetry, a genre traditionally associated with satire and insult which Abu Bakr truthfully denied. But the degrading and ridiculing depiction, forever recorded in the Eternal Book, echoed with the wrath and retribution of God towards Abu Lahab and his wife. Their plotting against God's message brought them ruin and disgrace in this world, and the fire in the hereafter awaits as their just recompense. The imagery of a rope around the neck points to humiliation, both in this life and in the life to come.